Now on to item 8.3, not without discussion. So we have 8.3, which is a recommendation report respecting the Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction. We have Skelly, Johnson, paper, rock, scissors, Jackson, Partridge. Anybody else would like to chime in at this particular time? Collins? No? Oh, he's good. Okay. Excellent. So may we please have a brief overview for the sake of conversation, followed by questions and or comments.
Through you, Mr. Chair, this was brought forward on behalf of the Roundtable for Poverty Reduction. We supply funding to that particular roundtable every year, as does the Community Foundation. We've not increased their funding in 15 years, while staffing costs, etc., have gone up. They continue to do good work in the community. It was a benefit to me last week. I was presenting at a conference in Toronto. It's clearly that Hamilton is recognized by the province as a leader in terms of poverty reduction. I was also very pleased to be able to see to be able to demonstrate to people that were at that conference the impact that the Poverty Roundtable had on our community. It was because of that work that led to the newspaper doing Code Red. It was because of Code Red that we have our neighborhood action strategy. It's because of the neighborhood action strategy that we've got the learning annex, the McQuestion Urban Farm, etc. The Roundtable is the leader in the province around working on living wage. You know, it was them that supported the Bill 6, which is setting the Social Assistance Rates Board. They had a curriculum. They had a curriculum change within the school boards here, etc. So the bottom line is they continue to do good work. We had not increased. Similar to any other board and agency that comes through that process. Unfortunately, they don't, but they get the same thing. It's an agency under that kind of a perspective that receives increases usually every year. The Roundtable has not. And so it was my way of putting it forward for consideration as an enhancement during the 2017 budget process. We have searched forever, for 15 years, to try and find some other source of funding through community, through the business. We've not been at this point successful. As successful as we are with the Roundtable, we have not been successful getting other sources of funding.
This is just referrals to the budget. Right. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you, Joanne. My first question is, and maybe you can clarify through the chair, on page 2 of 5, the annual funding is 107.7 with 50,000 from the Hamilton Community Foundation. And then it says HPR staff support to HRPR includes 1 full-time director and 1 part-time administrative coordinator. Is that over and above the 107, or is that inclusive of the 107?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's what the 107 is used to pay for.
Okay. And so their annual budget at this point is 157.7. They're asking for 30. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you have a breakdown, Joanne, through the chair, of that money, what it's used? It's for staffing, I'm assuming, but do we have a breakdown on the salaries?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can send that, Councillor Skelly, because every year they have to submit their financial statements to us. So that is only to fund staff. When the council approved $107,000, it was clear it was not for programs. It was for staffing resources. So that's I can give you the breakdown though. They get in-kind resources, you know, from the Hamilton legal aid where we're housed. So we get some savings in terms of rent, etc., because of those kinds of partnerships.
Thank you, Joanne. Through the chair, I would like a breakdown if that's possible. Thank you. And my concern is, and I understand that they do great work, but the Hamilton Roundtable does not provide any programming. And I know we're stretched and we're going to have a number of people coming forward. This is going to be deferred to budget deliberation, but we have so much pressure on us right now, trying to meet needs for housing, needs for the annex, needs for a lot of good programs. And this is a program that doesn't deliver any services. I wouldn't want to see us, you know, I have a real issue with funding bureaucracy and not funding programming, and so I wouldn't be supportive. I'll tell you no, I won't be supportive of the $30,000. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you very much, Councillor Green. And I certainly understand Councillor Skelly's argument, which is, isn't it better to fund programs that, actively take a bite out of poverty in some measurable way rather than programs where the impact is indirect? I take that as being basically what she's saying. So I'm happy to move the recommendation for the $30,000 at the relevant time, because just because something is indirect doesn't mean that it doesn't have a deep value. So the two primary examples that this report gives us are the Speakers Bureau and the School Curriculum Resource Project in terms of important, valuable, tangible things that the Roundtable has delivered. I can speak to both of those things. I have direct knowledge of both of those programs. Whenever I'm at an event and one of the speakers from the Speakers Bureau attends, the tenor of the event changes for the better. For those who do not know what the Speakers Bureau is, if you will, a kind of Toastmasters program. It is a public speaking program that trains low-income people, I believe all of them, or at least the majority of them, OW or ODSP recipients, to speak in front of a large audience about their experience and the diversity of their experiences. It is a development program for those individuals that has I'll use the word direct, link onto employment in terms of developing their confidence, their presentation skills, but it also has a valuable social justice function in that it permits the stories of these women and men to be told in a way that makes whatever policy conversation is hosting the speech more human and more alive to the reality of the very serious topic that is being discussed at that forum, i.e. poverty. It's an effective tool in social justice. I've witnessed it working as such, period, full stop. School curriculum resources, I think, requires even less defense. Making kids think about poverty in a complex way and linking the topic of poverty to what they're learning in school in a variety of disciplines is inherently good for social justice, is inherently good for the long-term war on poverty. We want young people, as they evolve as citizens, to be thinking about poverty and solutions and to be compassionate citizens. So that's a very kind of straightforward good that this program delivers. I wish we could do more, but $30,000 to help support a program that hasn't received a boost in many years, that does contribute in a valuable way to social justice, is to me a reasonable investment. So I'll move the recommendation at the relevant time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Jackson, followed by Councillor Partridge.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. This is just to refer it to budget, right? This is not approving it today, correct? It's just referring it to budget. Joanne, we in the Community Foundation, we've been the only two funders of this program. Mr. Chairman, through you, if I read the background correctly.
Through you, Mr. Chair, currently we're the only funders. In the beginning, Councillor Jackson, we received funding from Vibrant Communities Canada as a sort of a test in the McConnell Foundation, but that's the only funding that we have.
So the 107 we currently give, they're needing 30,000 more because of increase towards what, Mr. Chairman, through to Joanne?
There's been increased costs over the year. We're also just not able to keep up with some of the work that we're doing because the foundation at one point in time has contributed $75,000 and they reduced their funding a few years ago to $50,000. And we're just, we'd like to do other things as well. But in fairness to them, we've just sort of piecemealed things together to stay sustainable over the years because of no increase in funding.
You and your team and our council reps over the years have done amazing work through the roundtable. I think we've been like a model in the province, Joanne. So I say that unequivocally and consistently. But I just, this is a partnership. We have a multitude of people at the table, correct, Joanne? From all sectors?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's 50 or 60 partners at the table. That's including people with lived experience and
Right.
agencies, yes.
Right. So with the multitude of partners that have ways and means, we're the only funder of this roundtable operating costs every year, Mr. Chairman, through to Joanne?
Other than grants that we received through small things that they might apply for, we're the ongoing sustainable funders of this work, yes, us and the foundation.
Thanks, Joanne. So, you know, I've always said it's good to have words, but tangible involvement and participation is ultimately, for me, what's very, very important. And, the universities, the colleges, the private sector, the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, and here we are, primarily the only funder and the group the roundtable looking for increased costs, which is understandable. This is great work, let it continue, but all the others talk that, we've got to attack this problem of poverty in our community, and for tangible contributions besides their voices at the table, which is key and integral, we are the ones being asked for additional funding. I look forward to the discussion in 2017. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Joanne, I guess my question, and I'm not sure if you have the information around the grants, but have they ever applied to Trillium Foundation for any granting?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't know, Councillor Partridge. I think these are very good questions, so for sure I will have the information and be well prepared for the budget discussion in terms of the where we've applied for funding, how much we got, where have we been turned down,
right.
who else have we approached, etc. And I'll provide a little bit more clarity in terms of what the money will be used for.
Thank you. That would be helpful. And Mr. Chair, again, there's been a number, and in fact, a growing list of items that have been referred to the 2017 budget. And I'm very concerned. I've said this, I think, at just about every committee meeting that has been going on for the past few weeks. We just have this growing list, and it seems to be easier to refer everything to the 2017 budget. So I guess the other challenge I have here is with the funding partners. If we have 60 partners around the table, if each one put $500 forward, we'd have our money. So I guess the other part of it, though, is that I would like to see a request, and perhaps I'll put it into a motion if you'll come back to me, for the Community Foundation to share that $30,000, for them to put their 15 forward again. They were originally at 75, and they've dropped down to 50. Heaven forbid if the city had to do something similar. I don't have as much of an issue, I guess, in referring 15,000 to the 2017 budget. But if we wait until that time to request the Community Foundation pick up the other half of it, then that's going to be further on into February, March, April. So, Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, since I've already spoken to it right now, I would like to put a B to the recommendation and change that recommendation with a new motion if you'll come back to me. If that's appropriate. Thank you.
Absolutely will. Councillor Johnson, will you please take the floor? Absolutely. Or the chair, so that I can have the floor. I just wanted to state that, I've worked closely with the Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction, most recently on the payday loans file. And what they were fantastic at offering, I would argue that they do in fact offer programming in the information, the town halls that they have, the advocacy, particularly on the downloading issue, on social assistance. They've been on that since 2009, I think, was the original social assistance review, and they keep providing us the evidence-based framework to make logical decisions on how we should be supporting social services. We know that if the province continues to download and cut back, and we don't have this information to build the political will, they'll continue to do so. So this is one of many examples that I've seen them with the research side and the advocacy side be very effective at. The other one was the payday loans. A lot of the stats and figures that they have put forward, came out of the roundtable and the work of Tom. So, I mean, to refer this $30,000 ask, I don't know what that is in terms of cost of inflation over 12 years per year to be adjusted accordingly, but it seems relatively nominal when I think about some of the things that we invest in, the money that we put down for private sector, the money that we put down for things like tourism, and it seems like this $30,000 ask has generated a lot of conversation. But we'll kick it on to the 2017, hopefully, with support of this group, and we'll have that kind of needs-based conversation then. But for right now, to kick it to the budget process, I'm absolutely 100% supportive of, and we'll be supporting the $30,000 minimal ask at the appropriate time. But I also would like to say that I do agree that approaching the Community Foundation to maintain their existing, or at least their pre-existing funding is a sound, I think, reasonable amendment to this motion. So at the appropriate time, I'll be supporting that amendment as well. Councillor Johnson, I'll take the floor back. We have on the second time speakers list, Councillor Skelly.
Thank you, and through the chair, Joanne, could this not come from the $50 million the mayor's, that we agreed to support his ask back in early summer for additional funds to fight poverty?
Through the chair, it could be. It depends upon, the principles that you want to use to allocate that money. One of the principles could be that it's not to replace existing funding that we already have in place, for instance. Could be for enhancements to this. Yep. The other thing I want to take back is whether we're able to cost share this through Ontario Works. I have no clue, but it's worth asking. We've got unused money from the province in terms of cost of admin, $50. I don't know, but it's worth having a look at. If it did come down to it was only $15,000, we may be able to, if we were able to cost share it, we may be able to absorb it within our existing budget and take it off the table. But it was here to ask you whether you support an increase to their budget, which I can't do without getting your approval. If you support in principle them getting an increase, then I could go back and have a look at how I could fund that with minimal impact.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have an amendment. Councillor Partridge, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'd like to put forward that that the, I'm not sure quite how to word this, but that the Hamilton Community Foundation be approached and any other funding partner opportunities to share in the required, is $30,000 for sure? Okay, $30,000. And Councillor Jackson, I'll second that.
It's on the floor. It's a motion and an amendment to request that the Hamilton Community Foundation be approached to cost share the $30,000 enhancement.
And any other funding opportunities, partner funding opportunities.
And any other, so including but not limited to.
Yeah.
Councillor Johnson.
And sorry, just to clarify, through to Councillor Partridge, and the $30,000 ask is in addition to what you've just said, referred on to our 2017 process?
I'm not entirely comfortable with that, sending the whole I think I could live with the 15,000. So originally I was going to, Mr. Chair, amend the recommendation to read the 15,000, but then we're being definitive. So through you to Madam Clerk, what would be the best approach?
If we could, just 1 second, just in all fairness, the question went through to the clerk.
Sure.
Lisa?
But I'm fine if
Okay.
Joanne would like to
Thank
answer
you for
that
that
as well.
latitude. Joanne?
Yeah.
Perhaps I think we should leave it recommendation A, but recommendation B should be that we look at all alternative funding sources to reduce the amount requested.
Well, there's two motions. Those are contradicting motions.
Okay.
And so I'll leave, if you would like to, Councillor Partridge, move one that's a $15,000 enhancement, we would vote on separately, but I think that there's still a recommendation on the floor to be able to support the $30,000 consideration of budget time. If you're not comfortable with the $30,000, then I would ask that be an amendment, that be a separate motion entirely, and that we can vote on that separately.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that through you, Mr. Chairman, that it be the Hamilton Community Foundation be approached to share in that amount of money. And with what Joanne was recommending, I didn't specifically hear Hamilton Community Foundation. I heard other funding sources.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard and other. Yeah. So with that, Councillor Partridge, then, just so that we're all on the same page, recommendation A is still for the consideration in 2017.
Sure, okay.
We approach Community Foundation. If Community Foundation says no at 2017, you can then, if you wanted to move a reduction in the $30,000 recommendation. or vote against the enhancement at budget.
So you're suggesting that my amendment not go forward today?
No, I do, that we do
Right.
approach the Community Foundation.
Right,
But
thank
the
you.
amount of $30,000 be referred to the budget for consideration.
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
that's fine. Yeah.
Members of
Yeah.
committee, have you understood that? I apologize if I muddled through her. Is that understood? A plus B? All those in favor? Carried. We're going to have Councillor Skelly marked as opposed.
And I'm opposed to A.
You're opposed to A.
Yeah.
Okay. That was interesting. Okay.